Now we are starting chapter 4, class 8 NCERT geography book, chapter naming agriculture. The word agriculture is derived from Latin word agere or agri, meaning soil, and culture, meaning cultivation. So Gurpreet, Madho, and Tina were walking through the village where they saw a farmer tilling land. The farmer told them that he was growing wheat and had just added manure to the soil to make it more fertile. He told the children that the wheat would fetch a good price in the mandi from where it would be taken to factories to make bread and biscuits from flour. This transformation from a plant to a finished product involves three types of economic activities. These are primary, secondary, and tertiary activities. Primary activities include all those connected with extraction and production of natural resources. Agriculture, fishing, and gathering are good examples. Secondary activities are concerned with the processing of these resources. Manufacturing of steel, baking of bread, and weaving of cloth are examples of this activity. Tertiary activities provide support to the primary and secondary sectors through services. Transport, trade, banking, insurance, and advertising are examples of tertiary activities. Agriculture is a primary activity. It includes growing crops, fruits, vegetables, flowers, and rearing of livestock. In the world, 50% of persons are engaged in agricultural activity. Two-thirds of India's population is still dependent on agriculture. Favorable topography of soil and climate are vital for agricultural activity. The land on which the crops are grown is known as arable land. Agricultural activity is concentrated in those regions of the world where suitable factors for the growing of crops exist. Farm system. Agriculture farming can be looked at as a system. The important inputs are seeds, fertilizers, machinery, and labor. Some of the operations involved are plugging, sowing, irrigation, weeding, and harvesting. The outputs from the system include crops, wool, dairy, and poultry products. Types of farming. Farming is practiced in various ways across the world. Depending upon the geographical conditions, demand of produce, labor, and level of technology, farming can be classified into two main types. These are subsistence farming and commercial farming. Subsistence farming. This type of farming is practiced to meet the needs of the farmer's family. Traditionally, low levels of technology and household labor are used to produce on small output. Subsistence farming can be further classified as intensive subsistence and primitive subsistence farming. In intensive subsistence agriculture, in intensive subsistence agriculture, the farmer cultivates a small plot of land using simple tools and more labor. Climate with large number of days Climate with large number of days with sunshine and fertile soils permit growing of more than one crop annually on the same plot. Rice is the main crop. Other crops include wheat, maize, pulses, and oilseeds. Intensive subsistence agriculture is prevalent in the thickly populated areas of the monsoon regions of Southeast, and East Asia. Primitive subsistence agriculture includes shifting cultivation and nomadic herding. Shifting cultivation is practiced in the thickly forested areas of Amazon basin, tropical Africa, parts of Southeast Asia and Northeast India. These are the areas of heavy rainfall and quick regeneration of vegetation. A plot of land is cleared by felling the trees and burning them. The ashes are then mixed with the soil, and crops like maize, yam, potatoes, and cassava are grown. After the soil loses its fertility, the land is abandoned and the cultivator moves to a new plot. Shifting a cultivation is also known as slash and burn agriculture. Nomadic herding is practiced in the semi-arid and arid regions of Sahara, Central Asia and some parts of India like Rajasthan and Jammu and Kashmir. In this type of farming, herdsmen move from place to place with their animals for fodder and water along defined routes. This type of movement arises in response to climatic constraints and terrain. Sheep, camel, yak, and goats are most commonly reared. They provide milk, meat, wool, hides, and other products to the herders and their families. Commercial farming. In commercial farming, crops are grown and animals are reared for sale in market. The area cultivated and the amount of capital used is large. Most of the work is done by machines. Commercial farming includes commercial grain farming, mixed farming, and plantation agriculture. In commercial grain farming, crops are grown for commercial purpose. Wheat and maize are common commercially grown grains. Major areas where commercial grain farming is practiced are temperate grasslands of North America, Europe, and Asia. These areas are sparsely populated with large farms spreading over hundreds of hectares. Severe winters restrict the growing season and only a single crop can be grown. In mixed farming, the land is used for growing food and fodder crops and rearing livestock. It is practiced in Europe, eastern USA, Argentina, Southeast Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. Plantations are a type of commercial farming where single crop of tea, coffee, sugarcane, cashew, rubber, banana or cotton are grown. Large amount of labor and capital are required. The produce may be processed on the farm itself or in nearby factories. The development of a transport network is thus essential for such farming. Major plantations are found in the tropical regions of the world. Rubber in Malaysia, coffee in Brazil, tea in India, and Sri Lanka are some examples. Major crops. A large variety of crops are grown to meet the requirement of the growing population. Crops also supply raw materials for agro-based industries. Major food crops are wheat, rice, maize, and millets. Jute and cotton are fiber crops. Important beverage crops are tea and coffee. Rice. Rice is the major food crop of the world. It is the staple diet of the tropical and subtropical regions. Rice needs high temperature, high humidity, and rainfall. It grows best in alluvial clay soil which can retain water. China leads in the production of rice, followed by India, Japan, Sri Lanka, and Egypt. In favorable climatic conditions, as in West Bengal and Bangladesh, 2 to 3 crops are grown in a year. Wheat. Wheat requires moderate temperature and rainfall during growing season and bright sunshine at the time of harvest. It thrives best in well-drained loamy soil. Wheat is grown extensively in USA, Canada, Argentina, Russia, Ukraine, Australia and India. In India it is grown in winter. Millets. They are also known as coarse grains and can be grown on less fertile and sandy soils. It is a hardy crop that needs low rainfall and high to moderate temperature and adequate rainfall. Jowar, bajra and ragi are grown in India. Other countries are Nigeria, China and Niger. Maize. Maize requires moderate temperature, rainfall and lots of sunshine. It needs well-drained fertile soils. Maize is grown in North America, Brazil, China, Russia, Canada, India and Mexico. Cotton. Cotton requires high temperature, light rainfall, 210 frost-free days and bright sunshine for its growth. It grows best on black and alluvial soils. China, USA, India, Pakistan, Brazil, and Egypt are the leading producers of cotton. It is one of the main raw materials for the cotton textile industry. Jute. Jute was also known as the golden fiber. It grows well on alluvial soil and requires high temperature, heavy rainfall, and humid climate. This crop is grown in the tropical areas. India and Bangladesh are the leading producers of jute. Coffee. Coffee requires warm and wet climate and well-drained loamy soil. Hill slopes are more suitable for growth of this crop. Brazil is the leading producer followed by Colombia and India. Tea. Tea is a beverage crop grown on plantations. This requires cool climate and well distributed high rainfall throughout the year for the growth of its tender leaves. It needs well drained loamy soils and gentle slopes. Labor in large number is required to pick the leaves. Kenya, India, China, Sri Lanka produce the best quality tea in the world. Agricultural development. Agricultural development refers to efforts made to increase farm production in order to meet the growing demand of increasing population. This can be achieved in many ways, such as increasing the cropped area, the number of crops grown, improving irrigation facilities, use of fertilizers, and high yielding variety of seeds. Mechanization of agriculture is also another aspect of agricultural development. The ultimate aim of agricultural development is to increase food security. Agriculture has developed at different places in different parts of the world. Developing countries with large populations usually practice intensive agriculture where crops are grown on small holdings mostly for subsistence. Larger holdings are more suitable for commercial agriculture as in USA, Canada and Australia. With the help of two case studies of farms, one from India and the other from the USA, let us understand about agriculture in the developing and a developed country. A farm in India. There is a small village, Adilabad in Ghazipur district of Uttar Pradesh. Munna Lal is a small farmer in this village who has farmland of about 1.5 hectares. His house is in the main village. He purchases he purchases high yielding varieties of seeds from the market every alternate year. The land is fertile and he grows at least two crops in a year, which are normally wheat or rice and pulses. The farmer takes advice of his friends and elders as well as government agricultural officers regarding farming practices. He takes a tractor on rent for plugging his field, though some of his friends still use traditional method of using bullocks for plugging. There is a tube well in the nearby field which he takes on rent to irrigate his field. Munna Lal also has two buffaloes and few hens. He sells milk in the cooperative store located in the nearby town. He is a member of the cooperative society which also advises him on the type of fodder for his animals, safety measures to protect the health of the livestock and artificial insemination. All the members of the family help him in various farm activities. Sometimes he takes credit from a bank or the agricultural cooperative society to buy HYV high yield variety seeds and implements. He sells his produce in the mandi located in the nearby town. Since majority of the farmers do not have lack storage facilities, they are forced to sell the produce even when the market is not favorable to them. In recent years, the government has taken some steps to develop storage facilities. A farm in the USA. The average size of a farm in the USA is much larger than that of an Indian farm. A typical farm size in the USA is about 250 hectares. The farmer generally resides in the farm. Some of the major crops grown are corn, soybean, wheat, cotton, and sugar beet. Joe Horan, a farmer in the Midwest USA in Iowa State, owns about 300 hectares of land. He grows corn on his field after making sure that soil and water resources meet the needs of this crop. Adequate measures are taken to control pests that can damage the crop. From time to time, he sends the soil samples to a soil testing laboratory to check whether the nutrients are sufficient or not. The results help Joe Horan to plan a scientific fertilizer program. His computer is linked to the satellite, which gives him a precise picture of his field. This helps him to use chemical fertilizers and pesticides wherever they are required. He uses tractors, seed drills, leveler, combined harvester, and thresher to perform various agricultural operations. Grains are stored in the automated grain storage or dispatched to market agencies. The farmer in USA works like a businessman and not like a peasant farmer. Do you know agri plus culture? Agri, seri, pesky, witty, haughty plus culture. So, agriculture, the science and art of cultivation on the soil, raising crops and rearing livestock, it is also called farming. Sericulture culture, sericulture, commercial rearing of silkworms. It may supplement the income of the farmer. Pisciculture, pisciculture, breeding of fish in specially constructed tanks and ponds. Viticulture, cultivation of grapes. Horticulture, growing vegetables, flowers, and fruits for commercial use. Shifting cultivation is known by different names in different parts of the world. Chuming, Northeast India, Milpa, Mexico, Roca, Brazil, Ladakh, Malaysia. Maize is also known as corn. Various colorful varieties of maize are found across the world. Food security exists when all people at all times have access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food to meet their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. Interesting fact, organic farming, in this type of farming, organic manure and natural pesticides are used are used instead of chemicals. No genetic modification is done to increase the yield of the crop. Shifting cultivation is known by different names in different parts of the world. Juming, Northeast India, Milpa, Mexico, Roca, Brazil, Ladakh, Malaysia. Who discovered the coffee plant? There are different versions about the discovery of coffee. About the discovery of coffee in about 8850 Kaldi, an Arab goat herder who was puzzled by the queer antics of his flock, tasted the berries of the evergreen bush on which the goats were feeding. On experiencing a sense of exhilaration, he proclaimed his discovery to the world.